好，各位贵宾，大家好。在我们的活动开始之前，先跟大家预告一下，待会因为我们今日大师讲座的需求，我们可以请各位先把手机连上你们的4G 网路，或者是本馆的无线网路 NTSEC Free Wi-Fi。那在今天的大师讲座里面，我们会用一个很新的方式来跟大家互动，就是我们会透过一个叫做 Slido 的线上会议软体，来跟大家收集你们要的提问，那也是请大家踊跃可以发问跟按赞。Okay, so before we begin today's event, just a reminder, you're advised to connect your cell phone to either your 4G data or the free Wi-Fi we have at the location at NTSEC Free Wi-Fi. It's for the purposes of today's keynote. So for the keynote, we are going to use Slido, which is an online interactive program to collect your questions. And so we encourage you to ask questions and also to press like. And we are going to show you the instructions as to how to use Slido on the projection screen right now. 好，那我们现在已经把如何使用 Slido 这个软体的教学投影在荧幕上，可以供大家参考。谢谢 ，Thank you。 好，各位贵宾，大家好，欢迎各位莅临2020台湾国际科学展览会开幕典礼暨大师讲座。我们的活动即将在1分钟之后开始，请将各位的手机调为静音或是震动模式。那另外也再次提醒各位，配合今日大师讲座的需求，可以请各位先将手机连上您的4G 网路，或者是本馆的无线网路 NTSEC Free Wi-Fi。那现在就请各位尽速就座。此外也提醒大家，我们的安全疏散方向为左右两侧，有需要的时候就请由最近的入口依序离开，谢谢。Distinguished guests, good morning. Welcome to the opening ceremony and keynote speech of 2020 Taiwan International Science Fair. Our event will begin shortly. Please put your cell phone on silent mode. Also, just another reminder, for the purposes of today's keynote, you're advised to connect your cell phone to our free Wi-Fi at NTSEC Free Wi-Fi. So please be seated. Emergency exits are located on the left and right-hand side of the hall, and so please use the exits closest to you when needed. Thank you. 来宾大家好，欢迎莅临2020台湾国际科学展览会开幕典礼暨大师讲座。Distinguished guests, good morning. Welcome to the opening ceremony and keynote speech of 2020 Taiwan International Science Fair. 台湾国际科学展览会起源于1991年所办理的中华民国参加国际科学展览活动国内选拔赛。2002年转型为台湾国际科学展览会，邀请国外师生一同来台观摩交流，更借此机会评选优秀作品，选派为我国代表队参加国际科学展览活动。历年代表国家参与国际科学展览竞赛活动的学生优异的表现，不仅使我国的科学教育成果备受国际瞩目与肯定，更增强了我国在国际上的能见度以及巩固科学教育的地位。Taiwan International Science Fair can trace its roots to the Selecting Fair for International Activities established in 1991, which was designed to select students to represent our country and participate in the ISEF in the United States. In 2002, the Selecting Fair was converted into the current format, where we invite students and teachers from around the world so that we can learn from each other during the process. Over the years, students who represented our country have performed outstandingly in international fairs, which has not only allowed the world to see the fruits of our science education, but also cemented our place in the international science communities. 2020台湾国际科学展览会一共有14个国家、280位学生、153件优胜作品参加。本年预计各科会选出1等、2等、3等以及4等奖优胜作品，另外会从1等、2等、3等奖作品中选拔出代表作品，代表我国参加国际科学展览活动。This year, we have 153 projects from 14 countries and 280 students. The committee will select from each category first, second, third, and fourth prize recipients, and select domestic projects that have won first, second, or third prize to represent our country at other science fairs around the world. 台湾国际科展每年集结全球的高中职学生共襄盛举。那今天典礼一开始，就让我们先来欣赏台湾的高中生们带来的青春活力。As we kick off today's event, let's first enjoy a performance presented by the students here in Taiwan.
She walks on red carpets everywhere she goes. You can find her all designer from her head to toe. Out in Calabasas, she thinks she the baddest, yeah. But your heart is plastic, that shit ain't attractive, yeah. Can you be a real human for a second, please? This ain't TV, no one's watching, it's just you and me. Girl, what's your problem? Why you think that you're better than me? For all the cameras, pose for the magazines, but can you show me the side they never see? I know you're special, but if you're feeling me, I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath. Knows the bouncers and promoters probably often do, for real. But what you really like to do? Let me know and maybe I can plan a night for you. Cause you the only one to match my fly. Just feel a vibe, I can put you on a natural high. And girl, I know that you a star, but I'm trying to get to know just who you are. I would never be the type to break your heart. So gonna take off that mask and show your flaws. I won't judge you. Girl, yes, it's alright, just be you. No, I need the real you. Oh my God. Light up for all the cameras, post for the magazines. But can you show me the sign that you gotta say? I know you're special. But if you're feeling me, I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath. Light up for all the cameras, post for the magazines. But can you show me the sign that you gotta say? I know you're special. But if you're feeling me, I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath. Light up for all the cameras, post for the magazines. But can you show me the sign that you gotta say? I know you're special. But if you're feeling me, I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath. Light up for all the cameras, post for the magazines. But can you show me the sign that you gotta say? I know you're special. But if you're feeling me, I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath. I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath. I wanna talk to the girl that's underneath.
哇，非常精彩！让我们掌声谢谢建国中学、中山女高、北一女中、景美女中、成功高中以及松山高中的学生共同热情的演出。好，我们谢谢他们。Let's give them a huge round of applause. 好，现在就让我们欢迎这次所有参加2020台湾国际科学展览会的各国学生代表进场。他们都是各国选拔出来的佼佼者，将在这一次的国际科学展览会中角逐各项荣誉。那么接下来，学生代表们都会穿着由他们亲手彩绘的实验袍进场。Now we are going to welcome the student representatives from each participating country in this year's Taiwan International Science Fair. They will be making an entrance wearing their own uniquely designed lab coats. 他们都已经准备好了，所以接下来就让我们用最热烈的掌声欢迎他们，也请他们展示他们非常有特色的实验袍。Let's give them a huge round of applause. 好，首先让我们热烈欢迎第一个进场的是泰国 Thailand。接下来是墨西哥 Mexico。接下来是新加坡 Singapore。接下来是印尼 Indonesia。接下来是马来西亚 Malaysia。接下来是日本 Japan。接下来是南非 South Africa。接下来是加拿大 Canada。接下来是匈牙利 Hungary。接下来是乌克兰 Ukraine。接下来是菲律宾 The Philippines。接下来是瑞士 Switzerland。接下来是土耳其 Turkey。最后进场的是地主国中华民国 The Republic of China。好，请各位同学用最大声、最热烈的掌声为自己加油。Please give ourselves a big round of applause. 好，我们也有请代表同学往舞台的中央，可以靠拢合影，秀出你们的彩绘衣。Please gather around the center of the stage. Let's take a group photo. 好，我们接下来也邀请范次长、馆长、唐政务委员以及各位贵宾，也可以上前跟我们的学生一起合影。Now we invite the distinguished guests to come onto the stage and take pictures with the students as well. 好，请大家一起看向前方的摄影机。Please look at the cameras in the front. 好，一起比赞 ，Thumbs up。 好，谢谢各位同学，诚挚欢迎你们的参与。Thank you all very much and welcome to Taiwan。也谢谢各位长官，请贵宾们可以回座。好，我们今天也非常荣幸可以邀请到几位嘉宾来到现场，他们都是以行动支持我国科学教育的推手。那待会唱名的时候，也请被叫到名字的嘉宾们可以起身跟大家挥手致意一下。首先，第一位要介绍的是教育部次长范训律次长 ，Deputy Minister of Education Miss 范训律。行政院唐凤政务委员 Minister without Portfolio Miss Audrey Tang。教育部国民及学前教育署林婉琪专门委员 From K-12 Education Administration Miss 林婉琪。台北市立建国高级中学徐建国校长 Mr. 徐建国 Principal of 建国 Senior High School。最后还有国立台湾科学教育馆馆长陈雪玉馆长 ，Miss 陈雪玉 Director of NTSEC。好，我们非常感谢各位百忙之中参与盛会。接下来我们就要欢迎积极带领国内科学教育发展的教育部次长范训律次长来为我们的活动致辞勉励。Now let's welcome the Deputy Minister of Education, who's always played an active role in supporting the development of science education, to give us an opening remark. 让我们一起欢迎他。Let's put our hands together.
Good morning, distinguished guests, teachers, and students. The outbreak of a novel coronavirus in Wuhan, China, has sparked fear and anxiety around the world. We are so grateful to meet everyone here, especially the foreign representatives all around the world. You have overcome so many difficulties to travel from thousands of miles away to Taiwan. I sincerely represent the TCF to express our deepest appreciation to you. Give them a big applause. Thank you. For the health concerned, the TSF carries on building disinfection and managing the number of participants in the events. Hopefully, everyone can join the whole event without fear. Taiwan International Science Fair has been 18 years since TISF is started, and the number of participating countries hits the highest record this year. We received 533 students registered in the beginning stage, and there are only 47% students pass the first stage judging. As a result, 2020 TCF brings together 248 domestic students and 33 overseas students from 13 countries to compete for awards. TSF is one of the most important events which gathering outstanding young scientists around the world. Our country is very proud to organize such prestigious event. We hope all of you enjoy the week begin here and learning a lot on both science knowledge and culture exchanging. Learning the difference from country to country is an exciting experience. Hope all of you would open your heart and broaden your vision to receive different culture and opinion. Today, we are honored to invite Tang Feng, Administrative Commissioner of Executive Yuan, to be the keynote speaker of the Meet the Scientist session. Tang Feng will share how the information technology has been used in the innovative development in Taiwan society. We believe you will learn a lot from today's lecture and will have an idea of how to realize your dream. We expect all of you would be inspired by today's speech and the activities of the following week. We believe what you learn during this week will bring the energy to your future. In the end, I would like to emphasize that it's everyone's duty to prevent coronavirus infection. Thanks for your cooperation in this matter, and may the health and happiness around you today and always. Taiwan is worthy of your trust. Thank you. 谢谢。
好，谢谢次长，请回座。Thank you, Deputy Minister Fan。接下来，让我们邀请主办单位国立台湾科学教育馆的陈雪玉馆长来为我们致欢迎词。Now let's welcome from the organizer, Director Chen Xuerui of NTSEC to say a few words.
Good morning, Deputy Minister Fan, Executive Yuan Officer Han, Principal Xu, Embassy Representative, distinguished guests, and all participants. On behalf of National Taiwan Science Education Center, I would like to extend my sincere welcome to all of you coming from so many different places, especially those who have traveled a long distance to be here. We are very delighted to have you with us for the Taiwan International Science Fair this year. The outbreak of coronavirus really has a lot of impacts on fairs. Many teams have not able to participate. Therefore, I would like to especially thank the international teams because you must have made a lot of efforts to come here. Thank you. It has been 2 decades since the Taiwan International Science Fair diverged from the National Primary High School Science Fair. We have selected outstanding projects and students from this platform to prepare them for stepping on the world stage, providing them the opportunities to exchange ideas with other remarkable young scientists all over the world. At this time of year, the best high school students gather here to share their research results. This year, we have over 500 participants, 153 projects, and 14 countries and regions in total. The number of participating countries, projects, and participants have continued to grow over the past few years. This year, in 2020, we have stepped into the third 10 years of the 21st century. The world will have new development in economy, science, and technology. For example, the 5G communications era has dawned. Advances in network technology will greatly affect the economy. The development of the industry and the transmission of information will be even faster. Now is the beginning of 2020. In this brand new era, we must have innovative thinking in every field to make continuous progress. National Taiwan Science Education Center is now undergoing an innovative project named Taipei Art Science Park. There is a series of refurbishment work carrying on in the next few years. As you can see, we have having our floor resurfacing on the ground floor. The overall modeling of the laboratory space for B1 is also under planning progress, and the construction work will start next year. It is expected to provide better environment and activities for our audience. The speaker of the session meets the scientist. Adrian Tong is also a person with innovative mind. Tong has participated in National Science Fair and won the first place in 1995. Andrea Tong and now is the minister without portfolio of executive yuan. The topic of the speech is Taiwan's social innovation and the development trend. I hope that during the science fair, all the finalists will not only focus on the competition, but also seize the chance of meeting new friends and learning from each other. I believe you will be inspired, and probably the ideas of future research will be stimulated. I hope you enjoy the competition and a lot of fun in all the activities of science fair. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome.
好，谢谢陈馆长，请回座。Thank you, Director Chen。我们希望可以透过科教馆的规划以及努力，可以帮助更多对科学有兴趣的学生将来投入研究的领域。那现在我们也邀请摄影师来到台上，那我们所有的贵宾、老师以及同学就只需要留在位子上，面对舞台，摄影师会在舞台上帮大家留下一张大合照。Now we're going to take a group photo. Please remain seated. The photographers will come onto the stage and take pictures from this angle. 那因为是要拍大合照，所以大家可以稍微把口罩脱下来一下下。Because we're taking a group photo, so it would be great if you can take off your face mask just for a few seconds. Thank you. 好，请大家看向台上的摄影师。Please look at the photographers on the stage. Smile. 好，谢谢大家，谢谢。OK, thank you. 好，接下来我们要进行的是各位想必都相当期待的大师讲座。那再次提醒大家，在我们讲座开始之前，请在座的各位可以先将您的手机连上 4G 网路，没有 4G 网路的人也可以连上本馆的 NTSEC Free Wi-Fi。我们今天非常荣幸可以邀请到行政院的唐凤政务委员来和大家分享台湾社会创新发展趋势，将以创新的方式利用线上会议软体 Slido 来进行 QA， 而且跟现场的观众互动。Next up is the much anticipated keynote. Before the keynote begins, please connect your cell phone to 4G or NTSEC free Wi-Fi. We're very honored to have Minister without Portfolio, Ms. Audrey Tang, to talk to us about the development and trends of Taiwan's social innovation. Minister Tang will be using Slido to interact with the audience. 行政院唐凤政务委员是中华民国第一位数位政委，负责督导数位经济与开放政府发展，并强化政府部门与公民科技、公民社群的对话与合作。Minister Tang is the first digital minister in our nation's history, and she's in charge of facilitating dialogues and collaborations between government agencies and the public via technology. 那我们现在荧幕上播放出来的这个 QR 码，就是让大家可以扫描，然后来进行 Slido 互动的 QR 码。好，请大家可以拿出手机扫描。So now on the projection screens are the QR codes with which you can access Slido. So please take out your mobile device and scan the QR codes. 好，大家可以稍微花一点时间来扫描一下我们投影片上面的 QR 码。Please take a second to scan the QR codes with your mobile device. 好，那接下来就让我们以最热烈的掌声欢迎唐凤政务委员。Let's put our hands together for Ms. Audrey Tang.
Yeah, what's up? Oh, that's like the first top voted question, quote question. So really happy to be here and share with you some thoughts around social innovation. And we have around like 55 minutes. And my talk will be crowdsourced, meaning that if you can scan the QR code, you can enter anonymously your questions and vote on each other's questions. So the one with the most number of likes will float to the top. And if you want other people to vote on your questions, you can start lobbying your neighbors now. And what I will do is just read out each of the questions on the top in sequence, and then start moving to the parts of the slides that people are interested in. So just to give people some time to scan the QR code, if you cannot scan the QR code for some reason, you can also go to slido.com, that's slido.com, and enter today's dates, that's 204 without a pound sign. Either way, you will get into the same chat room. And so apparently 24 people would like, 26 now, would like me to start greeting you in this very strange language, an alien language. Pili ka pili lala popoli na bebe luto. Okay. Maybe this is a new kind of language that I'm really happy to learn. And then after answering each question, I would just archive it like this. I already said what's up, so I will archive this too. And 9 people would like to greet their principal, probably the principal of the Jianguo Senior High. There's a sizable crowd from Jianguo Senior High there. And so greeting to the principal. All right, so the first serious question, it seems. 15 people, 17, would like me to talk a little bit about my experience in doing my own science fair project and how does it affect my career so far. So I'm 38 years old now. So my first science fair project was back in the primary school, but the one that won my kind of national first place is when I was 15 years old, and that was 1996. At the time, my project was doing like this very cool name called computational philosopher. But what it does mean is just machine learning and inferencing, and it's just a simple AI project that lets you process first order, second order logic in a kind of language agnostic manner. And so the idea is that you can enter queries in any language to query database of any language, simple things. But in any case, that science fair really changed my life, really, because during that time, it seems that there really is no textbook talking about computational linguistics that fits the junior high school curriculum. So I'll have to start discovering new preprints on this newly invented technology called the Wild Web. The Wild Web was just popularized back at that time, and so I have to read a lot of preprints on a certain website that I'm sure that you're also quite familiar with. It's called archive, arxiv.org, which is from Cornell University and hosts all the journal articles before they get printed. They post the preprints for peer review to across the world. So what used to be a kind of closed academic community review platform become accessible by random 14 years old students in Taiwan. And so because in Taiwan, we have internet as access as human rights. We had that policy then. We have broadband as human right now. And so that means that everybody can very affordably download those preprint papers from the open access website. They just start writing to the professors. And it seems that they don't care that my English is not so good, that I'm just 14 years old, because nobody can tell that from my email address. And they just treat me as a fellow researcher. And so we started just working together. And so I won the science fair, and the Ministry of Education, of course, said that you're now guaranteed to get into whichever senior high school of your choice. And then I talked to my principal, and the principal said, yeah, of course, just get you into the top senior high school, and then the top university, and then you can start working as a kind of postdoc with your favorite professor in that university. And I talked to the principal saying, I just collaborated with that professor. And so it seems that I can skip 10 years of education just by accessing this archive.org website. And so my principal, actually, a very creative lady, read the email printout of my exchange with the professor and the teams from archive.org. And she said, after considering for a couple of minutes, saying, okay, from tomorrow on, First, I would not convince you to get into any senior high schools because since you're doing fine by your own. And second, that you don't have to go to our junior high school anymore. So I quit junior high when I was 15 years old with the full blessing of my teachers and the principal. And that is because they see that the future of human knowledge is being co-created on the World Web and instead of in classrooms. And so that led to the curriculum change in Taiwan that now enables this kind of flexible educational facilities so that everybody, even in senior high schools, can start choosing their own classes, and that took effect last year. And so I think this 10 years of experimental education is really informed by that single kind of choice of our principal saying that you don't have to go to school anymore and I will cover for you, because that paves the way of the bureaucratic creativity and things like that. So I founded quite a few companies after that, web startups, and I get into this political system called Internet Society. And this is the kind of political system that decides, for example, .tw, the domain name where it goes, or .amazon, whether it goes into a rainforest or whether it goes into a multinational company. And so that kind of political system, everybody can join with just an email address. And that kind of political system is based on the idea of radical transparency, based on the idea of rough consensus, and the basic idea of science, which is permissionless innovation. Whatever you want to innovate, you can just innovate and get other people to start adopting by publishing instead of perishing. And so that is the basis of a new political system. And that is my native political system. So it's not until like when I was 20 years old do I get my first vote. And it seems to me that the democratic system is so kind of last century, actually 2 centuries before, compared to the international political system that we're now, by now, very familiar with how the Wikipedia is governed, how the blockchains are governed, and things like that. So I decided to apply what I learned when I was 15 years old into the political system based on radical transparency and rough consensus. And so that literally changed my life. And so I'm happy that I got a lot of private sector experience also, working with Siri technology in Apple for 6 years. Again, working on chatbot, language agnostic, like exactly my science fair project. But also now working after retiring from the private sector in the digital minister's role. So that's the effect of science fair on my career. All right, so wow, 65 questions. You guys are really curious a lot. Okay, so HD and 40 other people would like to know, how does the government deal with, quote, fake news? If the, quote, fake news has already gone viral, is there any way to address it? Now, I'm really happy that you put the fake news in air quotes, because that is something that, a term that I never use. Because in Taiwan, news and journalism translates to the same word, 新闻. So there is no way to say fake news without offending journalists, like saying that what they're doing is wrong, right? And because both of my parents are journalists, so out of this local culture, we call it filial piety, or 孝道. Based on this idea, I really just cannot say the word, the F word. Instead, we say disinformation. And disinformation is a very interesting issue to tackle, mostly because it is just perennial. It's everywhere. And there is really no way to just control disinformation unless you control information, right? If you disable everybody's ability to post online, of course, there's nowhere for disinformation to enter, but then there is no information to enter either. And in Taiwan, where we have a very open society, we must see the freedom of expression as of the foremost importance. And indeed, according to the Human Rights Watch, the Civicus Monitor, for 2 years running now, Taiwan is the most open society in the entirety of Asia. And actually, the only place where a journalist's word was worth the same as a minister's word. In every other jurisdiction in Asia, a minister's word somehow, in some cases, can supersede a journalist's word. But here, because we still remember the battle days of the martial law, of authoritarianism, we don't go back there. And this is why we must develop vaccines to disinformation without hurting freedom of speech. So what kind of disinformation is, not subject to freedom of speech? Now, this is a widely debated topic. And in Taiwan, we have a legal definition. This is coded into our existing law. We're not making new laws for disinformation. We're repurposing existing laws that already, for example, says that you cannot, spread intentional, harmful untruth that harms public health, for example, during a new coronavirus outbreak, that is already a criminal activity before the internet. So we're saying if you spread the same thing, except on social media, you're subject to exactly the same penalty as what were already criminal behavior before. Now, an important distinction here is that the intentional untruths must be harmful to the public, like to the democratic process or to our public health. It's not harming any person's individual image, like the image of a minister, because that's just good journalism. And so basically, intentional harmful untruths needs to be defined and need to be guarded, and our idea of developing vaccines is through mimetic engineering. Now, I know there's a few genetic engineers in this crowd, but I bet that everybody here is a mimetic engineer. If you spread anything on Instagram, if you spread any joke, any internet meme, you're participating in the mimetic evolution of internet memes. You are a contributor to the mimetic survival of the various strains of internet memes. And so the idea, very simply put, is that whenever there is a disinformation circulating around on the social media, even on end-to-end encrypted systems like Line or WhatsApp, we must develop a vaccine in record time. And every ministry now has a team of professional comedians, except we call them mimetic engineers. Mimetic engineers that can make jokes within 2 hours whenever if there's a new disinformation that's spreading around, and inoculate people with those jokes. Because psychologically speaking, mimetics works on 2 levels. First is on the personal feeling level. If you see a rumor, a disinformation that sparks a sense of anger in you, like there's such an injustice being done, even though that's wrong, you will be motivated to share it because anger is a helpless emotion, is a negative helpless emotion. And just pressing share without fact-checking or anything like that vents that negative emotion into a positive one, which is called outrage and attacking someone. And that outrage is very destructive and it polarizes the community, but at least you feel better. And once you feel better, maybe you will fact-check and discover that's actually wrong. But you already spread to like 2 people, and the R0 value would be 2. And then it will become a pandemic of disinformation. And so the idea here, simply put, is that within 2 hours, now on average 1 hour, whenever there is a popular rumor circulating around, detected by the ministries. For example, there was one a few months ago that says, perming your hair will be subject to a $1 million anti-dollar fine next week. And of course, that's not true. But within 1 hour, our premier, our prime minister, rolls out this meme, this internet meme, that says, this popular rumor is not true. And not only it's not true, there's this explanation where a young version of the premier says, even I may be bald now, I will not punish people with hair. And then a fine print that says, we're only doing a labeling requirement for hair products starting 2021. And the prime minister, as he looks now, says, however, if you keep perming your hair many times within a week, it will not damage your pocket, but it will damage your hair. When serious, you can look like me now, right? So, right, so you laughed. And once you laughed, you're inoculated. Anytime you see then the disinformation, you will not be motivated by outrage, because the same idea of anger turning into outrage is blocked, this pathway is blocked by this anger turning into humor. And this is good humor, because as you can see, our premier is not attacking anyone. And so instead of reinforcing people's stereotypes, what we are doing is to build a sense of public health in people's mind, so that people can get into the good mental hygienic habit of fact-checking a little bit and see these memes that clarifies in real time. And we, of course, also rely on internet community. 20 years ago, when I was doing my science fair and my startups, there was this very serious issue called spam. I don't know how many people still get spam now, but back then, almost half of our inbox is spam, junk mail, that says, you know, I'm a royalty, I have $2 billion, if you can just pay me $10,000 as transaction fee, I will put my royal whatever into your escrow, whatever, and things like that. And back at the time, Bill Gates was quoted as saying, you must start charging postal stamp for each email. Otherwise, email will be broken, because sending unsolicited email costs nothing, and there is something in return for the con artists. And so at that time, the internet community banded together without any law, any legal action, and we set up a new norm that says anyone who receives a spam email now has a kind of moral duty to flag it as spam and donate the sample of spam into an international research center called the Spam House, which will then look at the sending patterns and behaviors, so that when the same sender sends the next email, it lands to your junk mailbox instead of to your inbox, and thereby you will spend less attention on it, and therefore making it less economic for people to send spam email. And so we're doing exactly the same thing here for disinformation. We have this large internet community, the Kovacs community, that's just look at all the line messages, and because they're private, end-to-end encrypted, the state knows nothing about it. So how do I know the thing about perming hair is trending? It is because people voluntarily long press the signal from line and then donate it to the research center, to the line dashboard. And then from there, line, the system, distributed to all the fact-checking partners. And the professional journalists from the international Taiwan International Fact-Checking Network, of which the Taiwan Fact-Check Center is one of the main members, will then do a full attribution on it and publish so that everybody can learn media literacy, media competence based on their fact-checking reports. So instead of taking anything down, we're just putting a notice, it's called notice and public notice, on the news feeds that says, oh, this has been fact-checked as wrong. Maybe you would like to think again before you share. And then Facebook also agreed to dial down its virality so that you will have to scroll like 2 hours to see that picture. But that's not actually taken down. If you go specifically to that friend's wall that's still there, just with a very visible notice, this is now fact-checked as false, and if you can click it, you will learn more. And so this kind of social sector empowerment that empowers everyone to be a collaborative fact checker actually enables us to get into the mindset of not just media literacy, which is for viewers and readers, but rather media competence, where everybody is now a media of our own, and we are all mimetic engineers that participate in this new idea of building a more convergent social forum rather than a more diverging social forum. Because of time, I can go on. This is a seminar topic, but I will just move on and answer other questions. So 39 people would like to know, how can technology be applied in a classroom setting, and how will it affect our education? So I just raised 2 points. First is that Slido is really useful. It's free of charge. There's quite a few similar ideas, like the Mentimeter or things like that. And it all is based on the same social configuration, is that everybody brings their own device to classroom now. Everybody has their mobile device. And actually students fact check your teachers all the time, right? The teacher may start lecture something and you look up on Wikipedia. Hey teacher, the Wikipedia is saying that what you say is not true. What do you say about that, right? So everybody is using their phone anyway. And the main problem for a teacher or lecturer is that we just cannot compete with the Silicon Valley companies that make those social media that captures people's attention. And so people become addicted to the likelihood of people pressing likes of every 10 minutes or so. We actually see students and even adults having kind of withdrawal syndrome if you just take away their ability to press like for half an hour from them. And so the teacher is essentially battling with the phone on capturing student attention. Now again, you can have 2 solutions. Either you can ban the use of mobile phones in your class and therefore create a kind of antagonistic relationship with your students, or you can make your students' phone part of the classroom. And that's exactly what Slido did. When I ask you to scan the QR code, your addiction, not necessarily saying you have an addiction, but those of you who have an addiction to pressing like once every 2 minutes now have something to press like, because everything has a like button next to it. And if you want to say something, you can freely say something. So you can engage in social media while participating in the classroom, except instead of distracting from the classroom, it's attracting people to the same topic that we're talking about. And you're now probably already thinking about the ideas. Oh, and it also enables the people to move motions, because there's literally a breaking news that people watching live stream is asking me to speak closer to the microphone so that the live streamers can hear much more closer. Again, this is direct feedback because already in the same classroom, it would take courage for a student to raise their hand and say, "Teacher, I'm hard of hearing." But if this classroom is being live streamed, there really literally is no way without introducing something like Slido for the people watching live stream to say, "Hey, please speak louder." But with a feedback system like this, you can react in real time without disrupting the flow of the person holding the microphone. So I hope that 46 people across the live stream feels happier now and that I will speak much closer to the microphone at this setting. And which brings me to my next point. So, as you know, we're rolling out the new curriculum that I mentioned briefly last year. And part of the curriculum is a lot of autonomous learning classes, a lot of the school-defined classes within those different schools. And people were saying, you know, it's great that you're introducing university-like choice, freedom of choice, into the senior highs and into the junior highs even, but where do the teachers come from? If I want to learn, for example, about the indigenous nation languages, if I want to learn about the culture of Sakilaya, if I want to learn about the Gaga of the Atayal, are there this many teachers to go around Taiwan to teach about their culture? Of course, there's a shortage of such teachers. And so what we're doing is that we're showing in my office, which I will show you right now. This is my office, by the way. This is the Taiwan Social Innovation Lab. And so I'm there every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to the evening. Everybody can literally walk in and have a chat with me for 40 minutes. And all I ask is that we publish, like the whole transcript is published online. And we tore down the wall. So this is like a park. You can literally walk in from the street. And so in here, I think it's this room, there is the idea of people teaching classes, but across the internet. It looks like this. So as you can see, here is a indigenous teacher wearing a indigenous clothes, immersing every classrooms around Taiwan in the same natural setting of their nation. And people all across Taiwan can just participate like this and using what we call a co-teaching methodology. And the co-teaching methodology, simply put, is that a local teacher understanding the motivation of students, working with an expert teacher, in this case an indigenous culture expert, to introduce their culture to a lot of different places around Taiwan. And with 5G technology, at the moment, we can only broadcast from this kind of dedicated room, but with 5G technology and very low latency, like sub-16 millisecond latency, we can actually make it as if anywhere, like in the top of Taiwan, almost 4,000 meters high, the Yushan mountain, or Savia, based on indigenous language, we can still live stream. There's still 10 megabits per second, and with 5G technology, there's very low delay, so that everybody can feel as if we're speaking face to face. And so this kind of immersive learning transcends the boundary of space, but this is based on the idea of broadband as human rights, that everywhere in Taiwan, if you don't have 10 megabits per second, unlimited data connection at only 15 euros per month, that's my fault. And so because of that, we build our education system based on the idea that this co-teaching can transcend both boundaries of classrooms, but also boundaries across sectors. And so I'm personally also teaching in the Columbia University Global Classroom, where we also use Zoom to connect more than 40 universities worldwide using exactly the same co-teaching method. And so that's the two, like what we call cheap and cheerful, because you don't have to invest in any new hardware. You probably already have a projector in your classroom, and you can easily apply Slido and co-teaching without procuring any new equipment. I hope that answered this question. And I hope the live streamers watching the live streaming is happier. So the 61 people now want to know, what do I think of information education in Taiwan? The curriculum of starting last year, have a lot of change around information. because we now consider information communication technology, media competence as a core competence instead of 1 or 2 classes. It has to be immersed in every classes. And the questionnaire says that this is a very advanced-looking, forward-looking concept. But where are you leading us? And also, the teachers who are not so familiar with being co-learners with their fellow teachers or with the students, they're kind of finding this uncomfortable. So how do teachers improve ourselves so that we can learn with the students instead of just lecturing at the students? How can teachers teach with students rather than just for students? Now, this is actually, 3 questions, but anyway, I'll answer briefly. So, first of all, the new curriculum is not rolled out within a single year. In fact, for primary education system, it would take 6 years for it to roll out completely, starting from the primary school, the 1st grade, and all the way to the 6th grade. And so every teacher in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and so on, have the opportunity to watch how the new curriculum is being taught at the 1st grade. And the same applies for the 8th and 9th grades, looking at how the 7th grade is being taught, so on and so forth. And so there's plenty of room for teachers to start banding together and forming this co-learning group themselves, and taking use of nearby universities, because another flagship idea of the Ministry of Education is university social responsibility. And a lot of universities is now very much taking care of their local senior high school, junior high school, and even primary schools, so that they can become co-creators with even graduate students. This is now the norm in Taiwan. And so this, I think, answers the idea of how teachers adapt. You don't adapt overnight, you adapt over the course of 3 years or 6 years. And with a lot of examples just teaching around you, the teachers teaching more junior students. And the next direction, I think a lot of ideas now is based on the fact that we simply cannot predict how many different academic disciplines will there be 12 years in the future. The entire scientific landscape, this entire scientific enterprise is constantly reconfiguring itself. And so what we're now focusing on is not just problem-based learning, but rather co-creative learning. So one example, you saw my office. And this is what every day, every week, people can visit my office with this very much like science fair project innovations. And these alien-looking devices are self-driving vehicles. And they're self-driving means that you hop on one, you tell where to go, it drives you there. The only catch is that they're really, really slow. They're slower than a person running fast. They're slower than a jogger. On the other hand, this means they're very safe. If it runs into a wall, nobody gets hurt. So this is the idea of a sandbox. So within this sandbox, anybody can apply whatever they have learned based on this platform, which is called the Persuasive Electric Vehicle, by the way, PEV. And because it's open hardware, you can plug and play any part of the component. And because it's open source, you can change how it thinks. Because it's open data, if you're majoring in anthropology, human geography, things like that, you can use this evidence to shape the norm of how self-driving vehicles should interact with the local people, which differs from country to country. And so with 2 years of co-creation, a lot of students, some from Taipei Tech, some even more junior, co-created new models based on the original design of the PEV, based on the interaction with the local market, because we're nearby a market called the Jianguo Flower Market that runs on the weekend. So based on feedback from the market, like literally from the market, they would like to say, oh, we don't really want to be driven places because they're kind of slow, but they look like shopping baskets. So we want to shop some flowers and put it into the shopping basket. I want the car to follow me. And once it's full, we want to use this advanced technology called platooning, or forming a fleet, so that the full cart can move back. It can summon a new empty one, so I can keep doing my hand-free shopping. And to do this, not only the program need to be changed, the entire what we call sensor fusion need to be changed because it need to detect proximity with the Jianguo Flower Market crowd. It need to understand the human face, emotion, nonverbal gestures and things like that. And this is what we call social innovation because it's not only fitting a social purpose, it is actually participating with the entirety of society. So this idea of social innovation, I think, is crucial for the future of education because then it will be informed by the local population, and what you learn during your 12 years of basic education will be directly applicable to your entire community. Instead of being kind of in the ivory tower, this social impact is continuously created as part of your learning process. So I hope that addressed at least part of that question. So 49 people now, 51 people, 52 asked me whether I can perform a rap for the guest today. Wow, where does that come from? Okay, I will read you some poetry, but that is not rapping. And I will also say that this poem is my job description because I'm sure that you've heard of Sustainable Development Goals, like these things, like important things, decade of action. And the problem with the Sustainable Development Goals is that nobody can remember all the 169 targets. Or maybe some of you can remember, you're a very smart and clever bunch, but I cannot remember all the 169 targets. So when I became digital minister around 4 years ago, the HR people in the administrative branch asked me, so minister, digital minister is a new role. Would you like to write a job definition so that we can communicate with the society? What does it mean to be a digital minister? I'm saying, okay, sure. My focus will be based on target 1718, which is enhancing reliable data. 1717, which is building effective cross-sectoral international partnerships. And 17.6, which is open innovation. And I'm sure everybody can memorize those. And then the HR people said, nobody memorized those, minister. At that time, that was 2016. The SDGs was just passed, so nobody memorized those numbers. So you have to translate it into something, and maybe into a rap. And I'm like, no, I'm not a good rapper, but I can translate into poetry. So this is literally my job description. It's pinned on my Twitter. So it reads like this. When we see the Internet of Things, let's make it an Internet of Beings. When we see virtual reality, let's make it a shared reality. When we see machine learning, let's make it collaborative learning. When we see user experience, let's make it about human experience. And whenever we hear that the singularity may be near, let us always remember the plurality is here. So that's kind of non-rap performance. 50 people would like to know, so regulations in Taiwan, and I'm sure elsewhere, always try to reduce risk and prioritize risk reduction over innovation. And so a lot of startups, they have these ideas, but because the regulation did not anticipate those ideas, some of the startups never get the chance to show their ideas to the society, how to solve this problem. And so this is a great question, by the way. So our way is through, again, a very simple idea of a sandbox. So self-driving vehicles, 3 years ago, is not legal in Taiwan. There's no way that you can drive these things outside of our sandbox, our social innovation lab, and only because they're tricycles. Once you install the fourth wheel, that becomes illegal. That was three years ago. But on the other hand, we want people to learn about, to co-domesticate with these new creatures. So the idea is literally interaction between the social norms and the market in a safe space. And this is what Sandbox is all about. And so given the 2 years of running in this closed place, we now introduce the idea to the National Sandbox Acts. In Taiwan, which is a continental law system, we convinced our parliament to say anyone with a self-driving vehicle with a top speed of, say, 30 kilometers per hour, they can apply with the agreement with local municipality to apply for those self-driving tests after a limited closed space test, like in our social innovation lab or in the Shaolin Science City, and it runs for a year. Whenever it causes any serious accident, the experiment terminates. But if it continues on without any serious incidents, then we collect the data and then we publish with the academic community, who will, after a year, look into the data gathered thus far and answer this question, whether the local community think this is good for society or not. And if this interdisciplinary team says it's a good idea, then we commit ourselves to change our regulation, to change our laws, based on your laws, based on the startup's idea of a regulation. This is not just for self-driving. We do the same for financial technology innovations, for platform economy innovations, for 5G, like millimeter wave testing grounds. We have a lot of sandboxes, like a general purpose sandbox, a sandbox or a GTW, where every regulation can be challenged with have to read a fine print. You cannot experiment on money laundering and funding terrorism because we know what will happen. So, but other than funding terrorism and money laundering, everything is fair game. You can challenge any regulation from any ministry. And so this 1 year or two actually gives room for the society to come to terms with technology and for the innovators and scientists to bring your ideas to fit the society. This is called appropriate technology. And for the society to appropriate your technology, to adapt it for the local need. And that is the idea of the sandbox. And this is the basis of our open innovation system. And all the 3-month sandbox systems have a chance to present to the president. So you can think of as a presidential science fair. The president every year runs the 3-month presidential hackathon, where everybody can say, hey, I see this Sustainable Development Goal target, like 6.4, which is saving water. And they can say, hey, I have this new idea. Instead, this person listening to the pipes that may leak every once in a while, so that it takes on average 2 months for the Geelong region, a small region, for a leak to happen before it gets detected by those touring people who hear. Actually, you can just analyze the SCADA data that has the flow and pressure of the water and compare it against daily activities, signals, weather, whatever, and train this long, short-term memory, whatever, neural network. And then an apprentice can become a chatbot to those master repair people. And master repair people can train their apprentice, this time a machine apprentice, to predict how likely is a leak to occur near them. And so they reduce the 2 months into 2 days in 3 months' time, which is like typical science fair time. But their pilot only work on this small region. But because they present the idea to the president gives out 5 awards every year. And so every team that received the trophy, which looked like this, has a micro projector beneath this trophy. And once you turn on the micro projector, it will show the image of Dr. Tsai Ing-wen, our president, handing the trophy to you and promising you that your idea will be realized on a national scale within the next year. So this is a very meta trophy, right? It's a self-describing trophy. There is no award money, but basically the award is that we do whatever it takes, regulation, personnel, budget, to realize this presidential hackathon project into everyday life, no matter what it takes. And we deliver 10 out of 10 of the 10 previous winning cases. And so that is how we elevate social innovation to the national policy status. And also a lot of those ideas are actually proposed by career public servants. Actually, career public service, like my principal back when I was junior high school, is very creative. It's just there's like 5 levels between her and the Minister of Education. And so every level can actually, take a risk-averse attitude and say, maybe let's not tell the president that, right? So what they do during the presidential hackathon is actually partnering with the civil society. And they say, oh, we're just joining a data collaborative This idea is actually proposed by the civil society. The civil society loves the idea of measuring air quality using this very cheap, less than 100 euros, PM 2.5 sensors, and there's already more than 4,000 or so stations in Taiwan. So we, the Korea Public Service, is just, taking a few weekends off on workshops to work with those social sector people. And if they don't win the trophy, there's no risk for the Korea Public Service, right? They're just, attending a few weekend hackathons. But if they win the trophy, as they did for the various new ideas, then they can just come out and say, actually, I wrote that proposal in the first place, right? So this is basically reducing the risk of career service, but also increasing the visibility of all the innovations. And so every idea in top 20 last year, corresponding each to a sustainable target, is voted in by a newly invented voting method that maximizes social preference output called quadratic voting. And with the QV, we have a very balanced, not subject to the voting paradoxes result that gets us the social collective preference that let us know what is top 20 subject of data collaboratives for Taiwanese people to focus on. And this year, we're extending this invitation to everybody. So feel free to attend the presidential hackathon, no matter whether you're a citizen here or not. So let's see, so 40 people would like to know, what about facial masks? I'm sure this is very topical, right? You're wearing facial masks. What about facial masks? Is there any contribution from me that use my expertise to ensure a fair distribution of facial masks? Yes. So basically, in Taiwan, we have a single payer, universal coverage, starting from the day you're born, healthcare system, the NHI. And the healthcare system issues a IC card, and this is separate from your name card. This is dedicated for the use of health protection. And so actually, we are now, just right now, coding and testing a system where starting from Thursday, everybody can use their NHI card to any of the distributors of pharmacy and just swipe the card, insert the card, and then collect the kind of weekly portioned, rationed mask distribution. And this is actually a very interesting application of the ICT technology, because in every other jurisdiction, we're facing the same problems. But without the NHI card that applies to even very young people to distribute small face masks applying to junior people below 12 years old, it's actually very hard to distribute and authenticate in the same pass. You have to authenticate in one pass and collect on the other pass, and that creates a lot of room for people to hoard the supplies. But using ICT, we can actually show exactly when do the masks arrive to each pharmacy, and in real time, like every 5 seconds, how the depletion rates go to all the pharmacies around Taiwan. So just like this map that I just showed you around air quality, you can very quickly in Thursday see that how much of the pharmacy storage near you is, so that you don't have to run to 5 pharmacies. You can just go directly to the one that has stock 5 seconds ago. And so that, I think, is a good use of transparency information. And we're not hoarding this to our official system. We're in fact publishing it as open API so that people can develop, like in indigenous languages, for people with visibility or hearing impairments or whatever. They can develop new interfaces, new front ends. There's at least 2 chatbots now being developed, and that can distribute the same information without concentrating everybody to the same official website, which will then create some pressure to our international visitors visiting the service providers. So this idea of co-creation with the civil society is based on the already very strong relationship between the Ministry of Health and Welfare, which takes care of all the target 3, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5 teams out of top 20 in last year's presidential hackathon. And so they know a lot about cross-sectoral collaboration and co-creating with the civil society and what we call civic hackers and citizen scientists. And so just by publishing data and working with the citizen scientists, we can ensure the auditability and accountability of mask distribution. And again, this takes the credibility of all the different sectors. It is not just something that the government can do on our own. So we're very grateful to the civic hackers that contributed their time all voluntarily, as is the pharmacy workers all voluntarily into this national mask distribution idea. So 42 people. CKHS, which is probably not a name of a person, the CKHS would like to know, what's your thought when overcoming the PRC government blocking and participating in the meeting in the UN in a quote-unquote special way? This is not very special, this is just robot, you know. So, yeah, I gave a talk in UN Geneva using telepresence robots, looking like this. Right. And so, and this is actually what I do all the time. I did this not just in the UN setting. I did this long ago, I think starting 2014. And because of this telepresence robots, we held entire summits, like the Virtual Island Summit, which is ministerial level meeting between all the the Caribbean islands, all the different small islands, the Taiwan island, Pescador or Penghu, each sending a representative to talk about how the islands can mitigate climate change together. And if we fly to the same place, like or to Penghu, which is a beautiful Pescador Island, a beautiful bay, we will cause a lot of CO2 emission and therefore contribute to climate change just by running this climate change summit, which is kind of ironic. So we decided to run the entire summit using Zoom, using a virtual summit, but we have an MC. We have this entire schedule. Everybody still participate, they focus, like we ensure there's a broadband connection and things like that. So the summit was a success and we published things after that. And so this idea of telepresence meetings now is a norm, and more of a norm, not only because of coronavirus, which doesn't transmit over computer networks, but also because of climate change and people becoming more aware of the CO2 emissions that we cause by traveling. And so this is my habit. It's just so happens that in UN buildings, they don't check the passports for robots. Like Sophia, I don't think they check the robots for Sophia either. And then I was able then to speak as an avatar on this robot to UN meeting, official UN meetings. Actually, I did this a lot of times. It's just that IGF was live streamed, and so people discover, oh, you can do this, right? And it's just not just me, but like 3 other officials all piggybacked on me. And so this has now become a very convenient way for us to participate, both because of the viral outbreak, but even before the viral outbreak, to say that we're reducing CO2 emissions. And so I think this is a really good example of showing how the traditional kind of Westphalian idea of sovereignty kind of loses meaning, because if you post a message on social media to me, that's already 3 jurisdictions, that's already 3 coaches. If we don't have a way to form a multi-stakeholder way to come to our shared values despite different positions, and instead relying on national representatives, then the national representative has no way to listen at scale. It's only if we can represent our ideas with digital technology can we truly listen at scale and come to this truly international issue and solutions. And I believe that's many of your science fair projects are working on this as well. How will the international participants, oh, okay, another motion, okay. So it seems that while the sound has been fixed, I'm speaking too fast, and people are asking me to speak slower. I will nevertheless say that the live stream will be kept as a recording so that you can replay, and I believe YouTube can replay at 1/4 of the speed or something like that. And so if there is some part of it that you kind of missed because I spoke too fast, I will speak slower, but you can also watch the replay. Okay, so 39 people would like to know. How will the international participants communicate effectively with the Taiwanese judges? Very good question. First, for the International Presidential Hackathon, as well as the International Social Innovation Partnership Award, the jury panel is international. So if you go to the ph.taiwan website, Presidential Hackathon website, you will see not only the beautiful icons of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Goals, but you will also see an international track, in which case you will see that we're actually partnering with an international organization called the Open Contracting Partnership. So the easiest way is just to find your local chapter, your local collaborator and partner organization of the Open Contracting Partnership and discuss your ideas with them, because they are, in a sense, also our partners. They're like semi-consulates for the purpose of this international participation. And also, you will be invited to Taiwan if you, like you already did actually, if you won the first round of your idea selection, and then you will mingle with domestic people working on similar sustainable goals, because there's only 17 goals anyway, so chances are that the goals you're working on is probably also something in our top 20 is working on, so you can pair up, and then you can deliver your solutions together in this week of the 4 days hackathon. And then the juries, which is international team, not just domestic, will make the judgment together. And so we're trying to make this as fair as possible for international participants. The previous winners of the international track last year, which is kind of for demo purpose, it's not at that time ratified, this year is ratified, is Honduras, working on a system that before any national large development, they can work with local ecological societies to do environmental impact assessment using citizen science data, not just government data, before they even procure to the large construction vendors, so that you don't have to protest, you can co-set the ecological agenda, and this is a really good innovation. And the other winner is from Malaysia. They call it the cartelology, like the study of detecting cartels. And that is to say, the company that always bid together and only the same one wins, called Weibiao in Mandarin. And they develop an AI system to predict cartels. And so I'm sure that there's many other issues requiring open contracting data, which we provide for free for academic purposes, to not only the end bidding data or delivery data, but even the procurement, RFP, and everything like that for your analysis. So if you're interested in using that to further your studies, please check out the Presidential Hackathon website and click International Track. I have, what, 3 more minutes? So maybe the last one. So can technology help solve social problems? If so, how? So first of all, do no harm. Technology can cause social harms very easily. The social harm of teachers in a classroom no longer being able to retain the attention of their students is a social harm caused by social media. And that really is true, right? So when you're doing technology, think about the impact of your technologies, and that's always the first thing. If you're developing machine learning, of course, privacy and accountability applies. I'm sure you already know that. But most importantly, develop with people, not develop for people. Any technology that develops with people is technology that is blessed by your community, and you have endless people who can participate to make your ideas more applicable. And any technology that do not run into this problem is one that has communicated effectively by listening at scale. And this is a real example. There was a technology called Uber that paired drivers with people who need a ride. And using AI technology back in 2015, we listened to lots of people just ideating, sharing their feelings on the common data collected by the civil society and the private sector and the public sector. And we asked for almost a month, what do you feel about this data? And this is something that's often missing, especially for hard science and applied science. We don't take the time to ask the citizens, how do you feel about this technology? We instead just start brainstorming about the best solution. That's called solutionism. So before developing solutions, ask people, how do you feel about this idea? And this feeling gathering is now entirely automated. This is called Polis. And the Polis system, which is entirely open source, and you're free to try it out, it's called Polis. I still publish on Social Archive on the use of Polis, so I'm still a part of academic community. The use of Polis enables people to share whether they agree or disagree with a fellow sentiment, a fellow citizen's feelings. And once you click agree or disagree, your avatar will move toward the people using k-means clustering on a two-dimensional principal component analysis map toward the people who feel similar to you. But you can see your friends and family on the other side. It doesn't mean that they're kind of nameless trolls or enemies. It's just they feel differently, right? It's fine to feel differently. And the great innovation in this is that there is no reply button. So without the reply button, there's no room for trolls to grow. Slido has no reply button either. So you don't see trolling, right? You only see some raps. But other than those raps, there really is no way for trolls to grow in a system without a reply button. And so every time we run this Polis conversation, you always see this picture. And this is the last slide that I will display. This is the most important slide. If you only look at social media, or indeed some institutional media, you will think that the society is divided, that there are exactly this many ideological division grounds that separates people into two tribes that sees mutually each other as non-people. However, every time we run Polis, like this one was in Kentucky, US, everybody now see transparently that actually most people feel the same with their neighbors most of the time. Everybody in Bowling Green, Kentucky thinks that science, technology, engineering, math is not enough. The arts need to be part of the STEM education. It needs to become STEM. Everybody agrees on that. That is the top cross-group consensus. It's just if you only look at social media and some institutional media, you never discover that. And so by listening at scale, the mayor then can just freely get, 0.5% of re-election rate increase by adopting, ratifying this crowdsourced idea of adding art to the STEM education. Because whether you identify as a Republican or a Democrat, everybody is for this idea and nobody is against it. So the more use of this listening as skill to get feelings from how your technology applies to the society, the more likely that the society will support you in your research and your application. Thank you very much for listening.
好，非常精彩，我们就先请唐委员留步。我们接下来请范次长、馆长、以及校长等贵宾一起上台跟唐凤政务委员合影。好，让我们再一次热烈掌声，谢谢委员为我们带来精彩的演说，也非常感谢各位来宾、老师以及同学的参与。2020台湾国际科学展览会开幕典礼暨大师讲座到此圆满结束。This concludes the opening ceremony and keynote of 2020 Taiwan International Science Fair. 再次谢谢大家的莅临，谢谢 ，Thank you all for coming again. 同时也预祝此次所有参赛的同学都能够获得佳绩，谢谢大家。最后，在各位离场之前，请再提醒一下大家，离场之前请记得随身携带的物品。So before you leave, please remember to take your personal belongings with you. 此外，请参展的同学可以由 B 楼梯下到 D1 参加学生交流午餐会。So now we invite all the students to take staircase B down to B1 to attend the luncheon. 那么我们也请参加领队暨国外教师交流会的老师们，先稍微在我们的国际会议厅里等待一下下。待会我们会请工作人员再带领各位到8楼去参加你们的参会。So all chaperones and teachers, please remain seated for now. We are going to have our staff lead you to the 8th floor to attend your luncheon. 好，另外呢，我们在下午4点的时候会公布安全审查结果，请各位同学记得到 F1 以及 F9 公布栏，或者是台湾国际科展的网页去查看。再次的谢谢大家。